Oh, you guys. Time to appease the new rider crowd. We are on the 2022 Royal Enfield Meteor 350. Okay. It's a little different way to turn on your bike. There's no on-off power. There's no on-off power and then ignition and kill switch. It's just this knob. It goes from on and then turn it all the way to the left to get your engine started. On the right we have hazards. It's pretty standard controls. You got the horn here at the bottom, left and right blinker on the left, and high beam, low beam on the left. It says pass here, so I'm guessing, you know, if you want someone to pass or you're going to give someone permission to pass, you want to flick your high beams, that's what that is there. But very standard. Was just informed that all Royal Enfields come standard with ABS, so that's nice, really nice. We got forward controls here, which is feels very comfortable. This seat feels nice and plush, especially, you know, when you're talking about price point. The Royal Enfield is going to be very competitive because it's not only are you getting ABS standard on your bike, it comes with this really cool, if you can see here, the instrumentation, the dash here, we've got a digital dash in the middle, and then the analog speedometer on the left, and on the right you've got the time, but you can actually hook this up to the Royal Enfield app using Google Maps. The Royal Enfield map uses Google Maps, and you get turn-by-turn navigation right there. It's not, you know, it doesn't look out of place because you don't have this giant like digital screen here on a very classic looking motorcycle. I think it's an awesome standard feature to have here on the Meteor, especially when you're looking at the starting price point, and I'll definitely put that here on the screen for you, what these bikes start at. Got a lot of color options for the Meteor, so if you're somebody looking to get your first bike, your first bike, a lot of options on color. It comes in this kind of a standard tank here with the Royal Enfield badging. It looks like it's painted on, but it's actually, you can see, I don't know if you can tell here, the letters are kind of raised, so it's not just a Royal Enfield painted onto the tank there. It's actually some badging, or you can get the option in some other colorways with the kind of chrome Royal Enfield logo badging. Both of it look very nice, in my opinion, and you're just looking at a really classic looking cruiser. And you know, I'm not exactly sure about the specs as far as weight, and I'll have all of that here for you, but it's a very, when we're talking about weight, very manageable weight for a new rider, and a very manageable seat height. So you're looking at something that's going to seem really really approachable if you're a new rider. And this is why I'm making this video, kind of why I went on this test ride today on this Royal Enfield. Not because I know it's a really popular bike, or because it's a really fast or impressive cruiser. It's because this is your basic starter cruiser. This is a cruiser that people are going to be looking at as a first bike. And right off the bat, I can just tell you it's really impressive. You know, I'm not flat footing it here, but I'm 5'6" with a 30-inch inseam, and my feet are nice firmly planted on the ground. You know, if I really wanted to kind of scoot forward in the seat, I could probably, I can get my feet flat on the ground, but you've got enough foot on the ground on this bike if you're a shorter person, and you're just fine. Oh boy, this guy on this live wire is worrying me. It's an electric bike. I'm not sure how he killed it. You got a nice, you know, a decent sound out of the exhaust here for kind of a little 350 motorcycle. And like I was trying to say before, this bike, even though it's a smaller motorcycle, you know, it doesn't have that kind of like narrow gas tank kind of, and I don't, wimpy is the wrong word, but it has a, and it's funny because it's called the Meteor, like, you know, in the space, but it has a Meteor look, like a beefier look to it, even though it's a beginner bike. As expected on a 350 cc motorcycle, this is a single overhead camshaft motor. You know, very linear power, very easy power, nothing to overwhelm. You're not gonna find yourself surging forward if you let out the clutch all at once. This riding position is very comfortable. You know, we're out here, it's kind of a windy day here in the close to the Bay Area here in Sonoma, California, and I don't feel like I'm getting blown around because this bike is too light, and at the same time, as we get into a turn here, very, very nice and very easy to maneuver. Now, if you're somebody who just got their license and you're looking for something a little more peppy, this is not going to be something that you want to look at. But if you're looking at cruisers, somebody looking at maybe a Honda Rebel or one of the smaller 125cc, really basic, like the ones you ride at your motorcycle safety foundation course, this is going to be a step up. It's also going to feel like a more substantial motorcycle because of the design here. And maybe you're going to find yourself riding this bike for a little bit longer than you would if you just got into riding and you're worried about getting a bike that, you know, that you're going to get bored with really quick. The design is really nice. And so, you know, everything about this motorcycle, even though it's a beginner motorcycle, feels a little bit more than that. And especially at the price point, I keep saying, you know, I keep saying price point, but this is a fact here, that Royal Enfield competes because of the pricing, and it's excellent. And this being my first time on a Royal Enfield, there's nothing that I'm not impressed with on this bike. The one thing I will say, I guess, if I'm going to be super critical, these knobs to me kind of seem like a hard, maybe like a not so good, not so high quality plastic. But again, I mean, I'm just nitpicking here because trying to do an honest and fair review of this motorcycle. So I mean, you could see I'm really twisting on the throttle here, and it's only giving me so much. But again, we're talking about, you know, single camshaft 350cc. This is exactly what you should expect from a bike like this. It's not disappointing. It's not surprising. It's exactly predictable. And I think as a new rider, that's something that you're looking for. It's something that's not going to overwhelm you, and something that is manageable. And for a 350cc smaller bike, you know, having your feet forward like this instead of tucked underneath you, especially if you're a taller rider, you're probably going to be a little more comfortable on a bike like this with the forward controls than you would be with mid controls, where they're a lot closer to your body. Like I said, I'm 5'6", and my inseam is about 30 inches. I have long-ish arms. My wingspan's about 5'10", 5'11". So this is like, this bike fits me like a glove. So if you're close to the same dimensions as me, you're really gonna find yourself enjoying the riding position on this motorcycle. Now, usually when I see these round mirrors, I'm thinking, oh, I'm not gonna be able to see much out of these. But for a round mirror, they're actually, the field of view on this is very nice, very wide. You know, I've just seen a lot of these circular mirrors that when you see them, you kind of think, oh, they're going to be smaller in diameter and not much to see. But because they've got the long arm here and the wide diameter, circumference, if you will, geometry, you can see plenty. And like that, what I was trying to say here with the long arm is that I'm a pretty broad-shouldered guy for someone my height, and I barely can see my shoulders here in the mirror. So we've got the single overhead camshaft engine that is air cooled, and we've got a fairly warm day. I'd say it's in the 85, but we've got a nice breeze. We're out here riding on these back roads, or this country road. You know, we're going 55 miles an hour, and heat is not an issue here. It's nice because the exhaust goes under your feet and not bypass your leg. But the engine is right there. But I'm not feeling any considerable or noticeable heat from the engine. Oh, that was a large bug. Something that I'm always concerned with an air-cooled engine is when you get into trafficy areas, or when stop and go. You know, you got to think about how hot that engine's going to get. And at least for me, I'm not having any issues here with the heat. Getting here, slowing down, don't have to put any feet down until we completely stop. That's really nice, really well balanced. And again, that's something you want to consider if you're a new rider getting into a new bike. You want to consider, how well balanced is this bike? Is this bike going to make me feel like I'm going to tip over every time I stop? And I can tell you from riding this bike a little bit, it definitely does not do that. Interesting kind of a click there on the turn signal. I didn't notice it until we were stopped there and it was quiet. It's kind of a click to the turn signal, and let me see if when you kill it, it has a distinct click too when you turn it off. But yeah, so going back to the seat on this bike, it's very soft. I'm thinking that maybe on a longer ride, which, you know, when you're looking at a bike like this, you're probably not looking at taking too long a rides. But on a bike like this, you've got a seat that's really soft like this. You worry about hitting the bottom of that seat pan, you know, and then it becomes uncomfortable. And I'm not so sure that'll be the case here. But what I can say is on this test ride here, it's doing just fine, and it's very comfortable. You know, it's wide. It's not split in the cheeks. It's got both cheeks firmly planted on a nice wide cushy seat. So not bad. You know, you think about all the extra costs that you're going to have when you buy a bike that's got a nice price point like this. And I don't know that you'll, right off the bat, that you're going to be not unsatisfied with this seat. So we've got 5 years. Fifth year is the end of the line. So 5 years, and you know, we're up here at 60 miles an hour. The nice thing about that I was reading about the Royal Enfield is this. It has a balance shaft. So even at 5th gear, 60 miles an hour that we got up to there, I don't feel, you know, I feel very little engine vibration, and that's something, again, yeah, that's more of a preference thing, I think. If you're somebody who's ridden a big Harley cruiser, then you know about that engine vibration. It's kind of a hallmark of the brand. You're not going to get that with this motorcycle, and it's just a nice, comfortable, smooth. You know, you get a little vibration in the feet and a little vibration in the hands, but nothing that's gonna, you know, like after you get on a long trip on a Harley Davidson, like a Sportster with a rubber mounted engine, you know, your hands are gonna feel like they're going numb because of the shake, and you're not gonna get that at all on this bike. All right, so we hit a little pothole there, and it handled it pretty well. The suspension handled it pretty well. You know, it depends on what cruiser you're riding, and how well the suspension's tuned, and it also depends on how heavy you are. When you hit a bump like that, when you're in an upright riding position like that, like this, where you can feel that in your lower back. Sometimes it can send kind of a shooting pain up your back because you know, that your back is taking a lot of that shock. And after hitting that fairly, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at the video how big the pothole was. That bump, it didn't feel like a whole lot. I could feel it because I knew we hit it, but it's not like it sent any pain up my back. So we're getting closer to the end of this ride. Nice engine braking here. Yeah. I'm getting close to the end of this ride. If you have questions about the Royal Enfield Meteor 350, this is the 2022 version, make sure you leave those in the comments. I'll do my best to answer any of them questions that you might have, and if I can't answer them, I will definitely try and hunt down that answer for you. Yeah, very smooth, very comfortable ride. You know, even when we're getting into some of these, even though they're kind of wide sweeping turns, this bike is in total control. I would highly recommend this bike for new riders. You know, if you're somebody who's been riding for a while, looking to upgrade, you're going to want to probably look at some of the other offerings from Royal Enfield, because I'm really impressed with this bike pretty much all the way around the board. Lots of things to like about this bike, and not a whole lot to dislike from the standpoint of a beginner or starter bike. Another nice thing, if you're a person that's looking into getting your first bike, that maybe if you buy an older bike, it's not necessarily going to be an option for you, because you're going to be looking at a lot of analog gauges, is the fact that you've got the big clear indicator of what gear you're in. And that's something I think if you're a newer rider, something that you're always going to want to kind of know as you're riding. You kind of get a feel for it. The longer you ride, you kind of know what gear you're in without having to have that indicator. But it's something as a beginner bike, something that's very handy, very helpful. Alright guys, we're coming to the end of this ride here. Like I said, make sure you leave those questions in the comments. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, make sure you hit that thumbs up down there, which is the like button. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Guys, if you're out there riding, please be safe. Be kind to one another. My name is Eric. I'm that one guy, and I am out.